15 teachings of Jesus that will completely transform your life. There are moments when your heart longs for something real, something that doesn't fade when life gets hard. You might smile through the noise of the world, but deep inside your soul still hungers for peace, purpose, and direction. That's where the words of Jesus enter, not as ancient echoes but as living truth. His teachings weren't meant to stay trapped in history books. They were spoken to breathe life into you, here and now. Every time Jesus spoke, hearts awakened. He didn't just teach rules, he revealed a way to live that heals the soul. When he said, "Follow me," he wasn't inviting you to religion. He was inviting you to transformation. To walk with him is to walk in light, even when everything around you feels dark. Jesus didn't promise that life would be easy, but he promised you'd never walk alone. And in that promise lies the power to face storms, to love when it hurts, and to rise again when you fall. His lessons are not abstract ideals, they are daily anchors. They turn confusion into clarity, fear into faith, and emptiness into abundance. If you let his words sink into your spirit, they begin to reorder everything. The way you see people, the way you handle pain, the way you trust the unseen hand of God guiding your steps. These are not just moral lessons, they're divine instructions for living with strength, grace, and peace. The world will change, but his truth will not. So today, open your heart. Let the voice of Jesus guide your every breath, every choice, every moment. Because when you start to live by his lessons, you don't just survive the day, you begin to live the life you were created for. Number 1, love without conditions. Jesus didn't love people because they deserved it. He loved them because his heart couldn't do anything less. When he sat with sinners, spoke to outcasts, and touched lepers, he was showing the world that love has no walls, no borders, and no favorites. His love was not cautious, it was courageous. It didn't calculate worth, it created it. That same love is what he calls us to live by every single day. Loving someone who loves you back is easy, but loving those who misunderstand you, betray you, or speak against you, that's where the real power of Christ is revealed. Jesus said, "Love your neighbor as yourself." That wasn't a suggestion, it was a command rooted in heaven's heartbeat. When you love without conditions, something divine happens. The chains of judgment break. The distance between souls disappears. Love becomes a light that guides others to God without you saying a single word. It's not about pretending everything is fine. It's about choosing compassion over pride, grace over revenge. There's a strength in this kind of love that the world can't imitate. It's the strength that forgives the unworthy, embraces the broken, and still believes the best about people. It's how Jesus loved you fully, freely, relentlessly. So when you wake up tomorrow, love like him. Love when it's inconvenient. Love when it costs something, because that's the kind of love that changes the world. Number 2, forgive as you have been forgiven. Forgiveness is one of the hardest commands Jesus ever gave, yet it's the one that frees your heart the most. When Peter asked how many times he should forgive, Jesus said 70 times 7. Not because he wanted us to count, but because forgiveness was meant to be our lifestyle. Jesus didn't wait for an apology before he went to the cross. He forgave before anyone even asked. That's the depth of his mercy. When you hold on to resentment, you chain yourself to the past. But when you forgive, you open the door for God to heal what you cannot fix. Forgiveness doesn't mean the pain never mattered. It means you're trusting God to bring justice in his time. It's choosing to release the person who hurt you so you can finally breathe again. Every time you say, "I forgive," you're echoing the voice of Jesus on the cross, whispering, "Father, forgive them." It's not weakness, it's divine strength. The enemy wants you to stay bitter, but Jesus calls you to be better. The more you forgive, the more your heart reflects His image. And when you forgive, heaven rejoices, because it's proof that love is stronger than pain. So let go. Forgive the ones who never said sorry. Forgive yourself for what you can't undo. You are most like Jesus when you set others free. Number 3, seek the kingdom first. We live in a world that tells you to chase success, comfort, and recognition. But Jesus said, "Seek first the kingdom of God, and all these things will be added to you." He was teaching that when God is your priority, everything else finds its right place. The kingdom isn't a distant realm. It's God's rule in your heart right now. It's peace instead of panic, faith instead of fear, purpose instead of distraction. When you start your day seeking Him, not your phone, not your worries, you begin to see how heaven can order your steps. Jesus lived with divine focus. He didn't waste His time proving His worth or chasing approval. He stayed connected to the Father, and everything He needed came in due time. That same promise belongs to you. When you put God first, you'll never come last in His plan. This lesson is about trust. Trusting that if God clothed the lilies and fed the sparrows, He will surely take care of you. The kingdom way flips the world's values upside down. It says the humble will be lifted, the last will be first, and the least will be loved most. Seek Him first, in every decision, in every dream, in every storm. When you chase God, blessings chase you. The world will tell you to build your empire, but Jesus tells you to build your altar. And when your heart is set on His kingdom, everything you truly need will find its way to you. Number 4, serve, don't be served. When Jesus knelt down to wash His disciples' feet, He shattered every idea of power the world had ever known. The King of Heaven took the posture of a servant, the one who spoke galaxies into existence, picked up a towel. It wasn't about status. It was about love that stoops low to lift others up. In a world obsessed with being first, Jesus showed us that greatness begins with humility. True strength is not in how many people serve you, but in how many you serve with a sincere heart. Every time you help someone without expecting anything in return, you mirror the heart of Christ. Serving others doesn't always mean grand gestures. Sometimes it's a kind word, a patient ear, or a quiet act of compassion no one else sees. God notices. Heaven writes down every moment you choose love over ego, every time you make room for someone else's burden. Jesus said, "The greatest among you will be your servant." He didn't say it as a metaphor, He lived it. When you serve, you touch eternity. You remind the world that love still has hands and feet. So serve even when it's inconvenient. Serve the ones who may never thank you, because when you serve people, you're really serving God, and one day when you stand before Him, He'll say the words every servant longs to hear, "Well done, good and faithful servant." Number 5, walk by faith, not by sight. Faith doesn't always make sense. Sometimes it means walking on water while the storm still rages. Sometimes it means believing in promises you can't yet see. But Jesus reminds us that the unseen is more real than the visible. When Peter stepped out of the boat, his eyes were fixed on Jesus, and for a moment, he did the impossible. But when he looked at the waves, he began to sink. That's the picture of every believer's battle. What you focus on determines whether you sink or stand. Jesus calls you to trust him beyond your comfort zone, to believe when logic fails, to keep walking even when you don't know where the road leads. Faith isn't blind, it sees through heaven's eyes. It's knowing that God's silence doesn't mean absence, and his delays are not denials. When you walk by faith, you trade control for peace. You stop needing to understand everything and start trusting the one who does. Each step of faith becomes a declaration. God, I believe you're good even when I don't see the evidence. Life will test that faith. But that's when it grows strongest. Faith isn't built in comfort, it's forged in the fire. So keep walking, keep believing, because the God who guided Abraham, Moses, and Paul is guiding you too. The path may be unseen, but his promise never fails. Number 6. Love your enemies and pray for them. Few teachings of Jesus challenge the heart like this one. Loving those who love you is natural, but loving those who hurt you, that's supernatural. It's the love that made Jesus pray for his executioners while they nailed him to a cross. To love your enemies doesn't mean agreeing with their wrongs. It means refusing to let hatred poison your heart. It's saying, I will not let darkness dictate who I become. Jesus calls you to a higher standard, a holy kind of love that disarms evil not with anger but with grace. When you pray for those who've wronged you, something powerful happens. The burden you've been carrying starts to lift. The wound begins to heal. You may never reconcile with everyone, but you will find peace within yourself, and that peace is sacred. Jesus said, bless those who curse you, pray for those who mistreat you. It's a hard command, but it's the only one that transforms hearts. It turns bitterness into compassion and makes you more like him. So love your enemies, not because they deserve it, but because Jesus loved you when you didn't deserve it either. Every act of mercy, every prayer for someone who hurt you echoes the very heart of the gospel. That's how the world knows you belong to him, not by your words, but by your love. Number 7. Do not worry about tomorrow. Anxiety whispers lies about a future that hasn't happened yet. But Jesus says, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Those words aren't naive. They're revolutionary. They invite you to live one sacred moment at a time, trusting that the same God who carried you yesterday will carry you again today. Worry is a thief. It steals today's peace by making you dwell on problems that may never come. But when you surrender tomorrow to God, you find strength in the present. Jesus wasn't denying that life is hard. He was teaching that God's faithfulness is greater than life's uncertainty. Think about it. If he feeds the birds and clothes the lilies, won't he take care of you too? You are worth more than all creation combined. The truth is, anxiety loses its grip when faith takes its place. When your eyes shift from what if to God will, peace begins to bloom where fear once lived. Each day has its own battles. Handle today's with faith and let God handle tomorrow's. The future is not yours to control, it's his to provide for. So breathe. Trust that his timing is perfect, his provision is enough, and his presence is constant. Jesus never promised a storm-free life, but he promised a worry-free heart anchored in his care. And when you choose trust over fear, you'll see miracles in the most ordinary moments of your day. Number 8. The greatest among you will be the servant. The disciples argued about who among them was the greatest. Jesus responded with something no one expected. The greatest among you will be your servant. In those few words, he flipped the definition of greatness forever. In God's kingdom, success isn't measured by titles, wealth, or applause. It's measured by how much love you give, how much grace you extend, and how willingly you serve. The world says, climb higher. Jesus says, go lower. Because in humility lies divine strength. He washed feet when he could have worn a crown. He chose the cross when he could have chosen comfort. That's greatness in its purest form. Sacrifice for the sake of others. And when you live that way, heaven takes notice. Serving doesn't make you less, it makes you more like him. Every act of kindness, every quiet sacrifice, every moment you put someone before yourself becomes a reflection of Jesus' heart. So when pride tempts you to prove your worth, remember that Jesus proved his through humility. The way up is still down. The ones who bend low in love are the ones who rise highest in heaven's eyes. Number 9. Be the light of the world. Jesus looked at ordinary fishermen, broken sinners, and told them, "You are the light of the world." It wasn't a compliment, it was a calling, a reminder that God places his flame inside imperfect people so they can shine in dark places. You were never meant to blend in with the shadows. You were meant to stand out, to reflect his love, truth, and grace wherever you go. Being the light isn't about perfection. It's about presence. It's choosing kindness over cruelty, faith over fear, and honesty over convenience. Your light might seem small, but in darkness, even the smallest flame becomes impossible to ignore. When you forgive, when you pray for others, when you stand for truth, you're lighting someone's path who's been lost in despair. The world doesn't need more noise. It needs more light. And that light lives in you. Jesus didn't say, try to be the light. He said, you are. It's already who you are in him. So let your light shine, not to be seen, but to lead others to the one who saves. Because when your life glows with his presence, you remind the world that hope is still alive and Jesus is still near. Number 10. Ask, seek, knock, and don't give up. Jesus said, ask, and it will be given to you. Seek, and you will find. Knock, and the door will be opened. Those words weren't spoken to tease your faith, but to strengthen it. They remind you that God hears, even when heaven seems silent. Prayer isn't a ritual, it's a relationship. And every time you ask, seek, or knock, you're deepening that relationship. But Jesus didn't say when the door would open. That's where faith comes in. Sometimes God's not yet is preparing you for something greater than you're right now. The silence isn't rejection, it's construction. Behind the scenes, God is aligning details you can't see, protecting you from paths not meant for you. To seek means to chase after God, not just his gifts. It's about wanting his presence more than his answers. And to knock is to persist, to keep coming, keep believing, even when the door feels heavy, because sooner or later it will open, and what's behind it will make sense of every tear you cried waiting outside. Prayer changes things, but more than that, it changes you. It molds your desires to match God's heart. So don't stop asking, don't stop seeking, don't stop knocking. The door may not open the way you expected, but it will open at the right time in the right way by the right hands. Number 11. Beware of hypocrisy. Live authentically. Live authentically. Jesus never hid his anger toward hypocrisy. He called out the Pharisees not because they followed the law, but because they performed faith instead of living it. They looked holy on the outside, but their hearts were far from God. God doesn't want your performance. He wants your honesty. He can work with brokenness, but he can't bless pretension. To live authentically before him means to drop the mask, to admit when you struggle, to repent when you fail, to live your faith even when no one's watching. People may admire your success, but they'll be changed by your sincerity. The world doesn't need more perfect Christians. It needs real ones. Ones who can say, "I'm not there yet, but Jesus is still working on me." Authenticity doesn't mean flaunting your flaws. It means letting grace shine through them. Jesus said, "Let your yes be yes, and your no be no." Be the same person in private that you are in public. When you do, your life becomes a witness more powerful than any sermon. Live your faith quietly, humbly, truthfully. Let others see Christ in you, not because you're flawless, but because you're faithful. That's how light breaks through hypocrisy, and how love reveals what's real. Number 12. Value people over possessions. The world teaches that your worth is measured by what you own. Jesus taught that your worth is found in who you love. He said, "What good is it to gain the whole world yet lose your soul?" With those words, he exposed the emptiness of material pursuit and pointed us back to what truly matters. Possessions fade. Titles change. Wealth disappears. But the impact you make on people, the love you give, the kindness you show, those things echo into eternity. Jesus saw value in the poor, the forgotten, the broken. He showed us that every soul is more precious than any treasure this world could offer. When you value people over possessions, your priorities shift. You stop chasing what rusts and start investing in what lasts. Generosity becomes joy. Compassion becomes currency. The things you give away freely become the things that enrich you most deeply. Jesus lived this truth. He owned nothing, yet lacked nothing. Because love filled every empty space possessions could never reach. He invites you to live the same way, to hold things loosely, but hold people close. When your hands are open to give, they're also open to receive. And what God gives you in return, peace, contentment, and purpose, is far greater than anything money could buy. Number 13. Deny yourself and carry your cross. Jesus said, "If anyone wants to come after me, let him deny himself. Take up his cross daily and follow me." Those words are not poetic. They are costly. They mean surrendering your will for God's. Letting go of your plan so His can unfold. The cross isn't just a symbol, it's an invitation to live differently, to choose obedience even when it hurts. To deny yourself doesn't mean rejecting who you are. It means rejecting the selfish part of you that wants to live apart from God's purpose. It means saying no to temporary comfort so you can say yes to eternal joy. Jesus didn't promise that the path would be easy, but He promised that it would lead to life. Carrying your cross is personal. For some, it's enduring hardship with grace. For others, it's forgiving someone again and again. It's walking through suffering without losing your faith. Every time you choose to trust God instead of giving up, you're carrying your cross. Jesus carried His cross first, not to burden you, but to show you how to bear yours with strength. He walked that painful road so that your road could end in victory. Following Him means dying to pride, greed, and fear, and finding resurrection in love, humility, and hope. So don't run from your cross. Lift it and walk forward, because the weight you carry with Christ today will become your crown in eternity. Number 14. Judge not, but show mercy. Jesus said, "Do not judge, or you too will be judged." He wasn't saying ignore sin. He was saying to respond with mercy, not condemnation. Judgment builds walls. Mercy builds bridges. When you look at others through the eyes of compassion, you start to see them as God does, broken, loved, and redeemable. It's easy to point fingers when you don't know someone's pain. But Jesus reminds us that we've all fallen short, all needed grace. The measure of mercy you give will be the measure you receive. That's not punishment. It's an invitation to live free of pride. When you lead with judgment, you push people away. When you lead with mercy, you pull them toward God. Jesus didn't shame the woman caught in adultery. He set her free with truth and tenderness. He didn't condemn Peter for his denial. He restored him with love. That's mercy in motion. Showing mercy doesn't mean ignoring truth. It means wrapping truth in love. Mercy is what turns enemies into brothers and sinners into saints. And when you live with that kind of grace, people see Jesus, not religion, not rules, but redemption. So before you speak, pause. Before you criticize, pray. Choose mercy, because one day you'll need it too. And the hands that forgive are the ones God will bless. Number 15. Abide in me and you will bear much fruit. Of all Jesus' lessons, this one may be the most intimate. He said, I am the vine, you are the branches. If you remain in me and I in you, you will bear much fruit. Those words describe the essence of the Christian life. Connection, everything good, peace, patience, love, purpose flows from staying close to Him. Abiding in Jesus isn't about occasional visits. It's about daily communion. It's praying through the noise, trusting through the silence, and loving through the pain. When you abide, you don't have to strive. You simply receive. His strength becomes yours. His peace fills your heart. Branches don't bear fruit on their own. They depend on the vine. The same is true for you. When you drift away from God, your soul begins to wither. But when you stay rooted in His Word, nourished by His presence, your life begins to blossom in ways you never imagined. Abiding means choosing Him again and again, when you're tired, when you're tempted, when you don't understand. It's a daily yes to His will, and as you remain, fruit appears naturally. Joy replaces sorrow, kindness replaces bitterness, and strength replaces fear. Stay connected to the source. Let His Spirit flow through every part of your life, because when you abide in Jesus, your life won't just be successful, it will be fruitful, eternal, and radiant with His glory. Conclusion. Walking daily in the footsteps of Jesus. Every word Jesus spoke still carries the power to change hearts, heal wounds, and guide you through every season of life. His lessons are not distant. They are alive within you, waiting to be lived out. Each command, each parable, each act of love is a doorway into deeper peace and divine purpose. Following Jesus doesn't mean living perfectly. It means walking faithfully. It means waking up each day and saying, Lord, teach me to love, to forgive, to trust, and to serve like you did. And when you stumble, His grace will pick you up again. The lessons of Jesus are more than wisdom. They are a way of life. They turn pain into purpose, fear into faith, and ordinary days into sacred opportunities. So let His words guide your steps, light your path, and shape your heart. Because when you live by the lessons of Jesus, you don't just find direction, you find life itself.